E agora que não, pois nós temos missionário, eleição. Acaba de deliberar com o governador, é fecha para a eleição do dia 6 de dezembro.
Bom bini na Caya ta Papia, programa informativo. Caminda conosco subi Caya e Papia conosco hendenan, puntranan com hopi tocante eleccion na Aruba.
E também é mitonan que biba de nossa comunidad. Después de escuchar a opinionnan riba Caya, nós também checo expertonan, kico, berdad, de loke Caya ta Papia.
Kico não sabe o processo eleitoral. Vamos a Kico Caya da Papia. Kico tem riba 6 de dezembro.
Sinterklaas si Caya.
Eleccion.
E eleccion.
Como você sai?
Social media.
A você aqui tem rest zetel?
Não.
Sim?
Vou explicar?
Rest zetel tá a quantidade de votos que tá queda e tá guardo compartido de tal forma que o partido que está mais cerca de ser assento mais tá ganha rest zetel.
Com largo, esta dura, promete que nós temos governo.
Com largo? Essa é uma boa pergunta.
Quero dizer que é processo e que está depender com ninguém se tem coalição ou não.
Por último, a você quanto partido por participar em eleição?
Não, tampouco.
Uma ideia, número?
Segundo quem quer por participar.
Menersa se vamos ter mais de partido para formar governo na Aruba?
Mas com partido.
No, bueno, minister. Solamente que el partido tiene una mayoría de asientos para el porcentaje só. Se tem menos cujação, tem que formar uma coalição com outro partido.
Se votar residencial na Aruba, tem direito de votar?
Sim.
Seguro, se botar residencial na Aruba, não.
Depende se botem o passaporte holandês.
Se botar holandês, se botar em 18, sim.
Sim, o mais de votar.
Papia com Hannah Meyer, experta em lei de Constituição na Universidade de Aruba, para explicar-nos pouco mais sobre o nosso sistema governamental. Hannah, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And thank you for having me.
Yep.
So the first question that I have is, what type of government does Aruba have? Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So in Aruba we have a parliamentary system, and of course democracy and the rule of law are very important. And well, the government and state organs only have the competences they were granted within the constitution, the staatsregeling. So it's not possible that one state organ or the government takes up absolute power. And within this parliamentary system, we have the staten, the parliament, and the government. They're sort of opposing one another.
Okay.
And within this system, we do not have a president, like, for example, we have in the US system, but we have a prime minister. And this prime minister is what we call the first among equals, okay. And doesn't really have a lot of powers on his or her own, so to say. Yeah.
So you're basically saying we have two players in the system. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, sure. So in the Aruban system, what we do is we vote for the parliament, for the staten, that represents us as citizens, and we have 21 members within this parliament. And after the elections are done, we need to form a government. But the key rule within the Aruban parliamentary system is that a majority of the staten, so the staten leden, needs to have faith in the government, in the ministers. So once they think, for example, that one of the ministers or the whole of the government isn't doing their jobs very properly, they can say, we want you to go home. On the other hand, the government has the possibility to dissolve parliament. So those are kind of checks and balances that are laid down in the constitution.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
This voting system in general, how does it work?
It's based on proportional representation. Once you are in the parliament, you have a 4-year term. But the system for this proportional representation and the voting system in general has been laid down in the kiesverordening, which would translate to something like the voting law. And it holds a lot of specific rules on what's happening on election day, for example, but also about whom can be a candidate for parliament, how the candidate lists have to be handed in, for example. And in practice, political parties have a huge influence on what's happening on all of this. So they are the ones deciding on how the candidate lists, how they will put together their candidate list, of course.
Okay, nice. And the contribution of seats, how does that take place?
Well, I already told you that we have 21 members in parliament. And what we do is after elections, we have a total amount of votes casted. So this total amount of votes casted will be divided by 21. And that amount is the amount of votes you need to actually obtain a seat in parliament. After this calculation, not all of the seats were taken up. Then we go to the restzetelverdeling.
So Hannah, why should we vote?
I think because we need to take up this responsibility as Aruban citizens. If you think something is not going well on the island or it is going well on the island, you should vote. Look up the different programs the political parties have, see what you think is good in your interest and what you think is important for Aruba, and go vote, because you actually make a difference.
Thank you, Hannah, for your expertise. Papiando con nos expertonan, nos asigna un tiki mas kico turta hungo un rol ding eleccion na Aruba.
Nos awa kico Caya, ta Papia.
Pa asina abo te prepara.
Pa dia de eleição, botin toda a informação necessária.
Pa hasi bo voto conta.